We have team coverage from all over the fire zone, starting with Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman in Mandeville Canyon with crews on the fire line. Good morning.
What pose the danger, Jen?
The short answer is by Friday, it is so much better. So we've got a long time before then, but the bulk of it happens in the next 36 hours. So let me take you through the timing, but before we get there, I should emphasize this is not the same as last week's. It's a different setup, different type of event. The geography is slightly different. The wind direction is more east to northeast versus north. So that's going to play a big factor in who is most at risk. You saw that 5 to nearly the grapevine. You can expect rare fire conditions. This morning there will be a peak, and again tomorrow morning. A little lull between the two. It's not constant wind, but when they come and they push 60, 70 mile per hour gusts, and that makes fire behavior explosive. This is not something that happens all that often. That's why they're putting that PDS red flag warning through tomorrow, especially in this northern or Santa Clarita with gusts of 40 plus. Remember, that's the valley, that's the city. So up in the canyons, that's where those gusts start up, and that's often where a fire starts and then spreads. You can have embers be chucked really far. They call it long-range spotting in these types of events. That's why Wednesday, 8 a.m., those winds come back up. And then look at Friday, 7 a.m., finally going to see those winds down in the single digits, and the humidity builds back in.
That's what we have to get to. Okay, Ginger, thanks. We're going to turn out to breaking news overnight.
And we've got lake effect that's been falling, Buffalo area, anywhere from 9 to 11 inches already. The road's messy, even if you've got less than that. But we're going to see more where that came from. There are lake effects the next 48 hours, winter storm warnings and advisory, morning like 24 below by next early week. Your local weather in 30 seconds. Chicago's more than 5 inches below average for the year. They got a little burst this morning, just a trace to maybe an inch, especially south, like Joliet, over into northwest Indiana. They keep getting that snow, and the cold doesn't hurt to make snow, that's for sure. Looking right now, though, there are extreme cold warnings. Harmon, 20 below. So this is, I'm sorry, for Wednesday morning. So this is Virginia and Virginia into Appalachia there. And a lot of the next big push of air for next week is coming up from Canada. So this is Saskatchewan, and the temperature at the time of making that video, 13 below, but the feels like we're closer to 30 below, like 29 below or so. This is how cold it's going to be. Coldest in 2 years, especially in Texas, and it will be a little bit modified, but still cold for most of the nation, unless you're in Alaska. Coming up, how our friend Jimmy Kimmel and his staff are helping out as Southern California tries to get through.
And an emergency fund. So you think about this needs category. Those are your living expenses. You multiply that times 3 months.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for that. And we're going to...
Hey, Michael, we wanted to bring out a picture of Southern California. This is the Santa Monica Pier. Isn't necessarily okay, so just check ahead. Look at that AQI in your area before you plan anything outside. So there are still air quality alerts from the Coachella Valley, the north side of the Salton Sea, San Clemente. That is for today through tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of that stagnant air until we get things moving. So here's some tips if you are in that region. Just avoid going outdoors if you have that high AQI, because that is unhealthy. Keep the windows and doors closed, run the air conditioner or the purifiers, and avoid other sources of fire like candles and your fireplace. I have to mention, when we were leaving, one of the reasons that they're not allowing people back in is the chemicals that burn in those homes. I could taste the chemicals. So they're toxins on top of the air pollutants. All right, let's get a check a little closer to home.
Gusty wind and colder temperatures today. We're waking up to teens and 20s, and that doesn't...
Firefighting efforts at that spot as the Palisades fire began to spread.
Just in the past couple of seconds since we've been here, this fire has crested this little hill we're on, the entire basin here.
Paraded along an icy Lake Michigan in Chicago. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Yeah, this is the kind of cold that gets very dangerous very quickly. The feel-like temperature here in Chicago.
Forecast on both coasts for us. Good morning, Jen.
You know, I really liked how Matt pointed out that sometimes you don't see flame, but those smoldering piles, when we were out there covering, we saw certain hot spots flame up, they'd come around, put it out, they'd flame up again, they'd come around, put it out. So it takes a lot of effort and a lot of rounds to get those out. And that's why they're concerned about winds, because if you get a wind of 45 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour, even on an existing smolder, that can throw an ember and start a fire. Most of this is north and west of Los Angeles and the two main fires, though. So the biggest area that we're extreme risk for today until 3 p.m., that's that PDS, particularly dangerous situation, red flag warning, goes through the San Fernando Valley. It's over toward Ventura, along the 101, the 405. We're watching that really closely. Some of the gusts we time out here, this is 2 p.m. today. Fillmore's at 40. But watch what happens by tomorrow. Things really start to settle down. The wind speeds are near calm for Santa Clarita by Friday. You know the other best part? We're going to get onshore flow by Friday. That means that the humidity is going to bump up, talking 60%. That's going to help so much you might even see a sprinkle by the end of the week in Southern California. Now, let's talk real quick about the cold because, yes, he was there, sub-zero wind chills in Chicago, but in that extreme cold warning, right in the Appalachia, so much colder, like 22 below could happen. Next week, even colder than that, guys, all the way to the Gulf Coast. George?
We are glad that relief is coming from Southern California. Thank you, Ginger.
With so many choices on Booking.com, there are so many Tina Feys I could be. So I hired body doubles.
30,000 followers, Tina, in a boutique hotel.
For 30,000 steps, Tina, at a mountain cabin. Oh, Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
If you like Robert De Niro, 2 for the price of 1. It feels very Susan Lucci, All My Children. I like it. I like it a lot.
There's a connection right there.
That's how the brain works.
Yes, it will be just like All My Children, I'm sure. Thank you, guys. All right, we do have to update you because we still have hours left in that particularly dangerous situation. 45 to 70 mile per hour gusts, especially in the canyons, and that's what's concerning because you would see explosive fire growth. That ends at 3 p.m. Pacific time. But we wanted to point out, remember last year, I was there early February when they had that historic rain and El Nino to a totally different pattern. Now we're in La Nina, and that's where the jet has stayed well north and kept them dry. Let's get a check a little closer to home.
Cold is the weather story today. Air temperature in the teens and 20s, but when you factor in the gusty wind we're still dealing with, this is what it feels like. Seeing the
Relationship and in our work life, getting to be a part of that is really special.
Ginger, because there's more extreme fire danger in Southern California.
And thank goodness such good conditions over the weekend. They made a huge advance on those fires, getting containment up in both the Palisades and Eaton. They're not fully contained yet. That's one concern, but it's more about where new fires could start thanks to a huge wind event again. We have a little bit of a northerly component. You can see there through the San Fernando Valley, western Santa Monica's, western San Gabriel's, and then back over to Ventura again through Thousand Oaks and Malibu. We're in the extreme fire risk. Like, this is as bad as it gets warning-wise. So a big part of the problem is we're having that upper level support again. So we're going to get that normal offshore flow, but enhanced a bit. What happened 2 weeks ago was called a mountain wave wind event, and they're warning about that, talking 80 to 100 mile per hour winds today, tonight, into early tomorrow. So red flag warnings go all the way down here, but it's really that northern part where we're worried about the particularly dangerous situation. Your local weather in 30 seconds.
You know your love keeps on.
Tis the season to get sick. We have new data from the CDC on cases of respiratory illness and how you can protect yourself. Also, we have a super surprise for one teen with a lot of fight in him. Your local news and weather next.
Over the past 4 years. But I want to set the stage a little bit for folks who are watching, because this is going to be different from previous inauguration speeches. Frequently you have presidents coming in and it's full of empty rhetoric and promises that it will never be made good on. But President Trump has done this before. For only the second time, independence can look like. We know what having a meritocracy-based government can do. So President Trump will start off.
Hey, it's been more than 40 years since they had to move it indoors, and you see why. This is at noon today. It's one of those rare days where the high happens early and then you just keep falling. The wind chill at 10, temperature will be in the low to mid 20s. And so they're not alone. There are cold weather alerts for almost every single state in the nation. You can see them all highlighted from Maine up to North Dakota, back to Washington State, down to California and Arizona, over to Florida and Texas. That cold air is about to meet a coastal storm, and it's going to make for a historic storm for snow from really Houston over to Baton Rouge and eventually through coastal Mississippi and Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. The timing is mostly tomorrow. So it it starts early tomorrow morning in Houston. They've already got schools closed from there across through parts of Alabama. And then you've got the I-10's just going to be so messy all the way up then, even parts of I-95, Savannah to Charleston. So it's going to be one of those rare storms where more snow falls at the coast in South Carolina than it would inland. Robin?
Interesting. All right there, Ginger. Now we have a GMA health alert. The CDC warning about respiratory illnesses that remain high. Trevor Alt, you got more.
Quiet before the rest of the day goes on, before the ceremonies. No protests.
Back now on Good Morning America. Let's go to Ginger.
Thank you, George. And you saw really cold there. So cold they had to move things indoors for the first time in 40 years. Temperature in the 20s, wind chill about 10. But look at International Falls. They are well below average, some 25 plus degrees below average this morning. 35 degrees below zero is the actual air temperature. So it's not a record, but it's definitely on the colder side. Look at Fargo. These are wind chills now, 43 below, Minot 54 below. But the cold goes all the way down to the Gulf Coast, and that's the issue, and where that snowstorm is going to go from Houston over to the Florida Panhandle tomorrow. But we do see some moderation. Chicago's the coldest tomorrow with a high of only 4, and then back up into the 20s, Atlanta into the 30s. So even Minneapolis goes above average by the time we reach our Wednesday. All right, that's the big picture. Let's get a check now a little closer to home.
And it's going to be really cold and breezy for us today. High temperatures staying below freezing.